contracts. Put an S on that because we don't get just one. We are getting contracts. What I want to talk about today is how do we get our contracts to the closing table? What's going on, y'all? Eric Cline here, just getting ready to spit some more knowledge on how you can be more efficient, effective on getting deals in the wholesaling industry. Listen, I've been building businesses virtually for the last 15 years. I've only actually been in the wholesaling industry for just over 3 years. But when I came into this industry, I knew immediately, there was a ton of broken processes out there. Meaning, and I'm not talking smack, but you can tell there are levels to this stuff when it comes to building, scaling, and stabilizing companies. And I knew when I started going to these events or these masterminds, I was like, man, this is a lot of regurgitated bullshit that I'm hearing. It's like they all said the same thing. I didn't hear anything about processes, true processes. I didn't hear much about systems, CRMs, like everybody was using the same CRM. And it's like, there is a massive hole here that needs to be filled. And what I want to talk about today, because a lot of you out there might be working on your first contract. A lot of you out there may have gotten a contract and you're sitting there scratching your head. Why did that thing never get to the closing table? So my job here today is to give you some key points and put it into perspective. You are not the only one calling these leads. There are hundreds of thousands of people out there that are trying to become the next wholesaler, that are trying to become the next guru. So get in line on how many people are calling the same homeowner as you. Every market, I hear people ask me all the time, is that market saturated? Is that market saturated? They're all saturated. They're saturated with amateurs. But what that does for people like me or people like you that are taking this serious, you're educating yourself as much as you can daily. The amateurs make it hard for the professionals. Because by the time we get to the homeowner, they've heard it all. They've been abused. They've answered questions time and time again. They're literally worn out. But for all of us that are still getting contracts, put an S on that because we don't get just one. We are getting contracts. What I want to talk about today is how do we get our contracts to the closing table? Because until it closes, you do not get paid. So let's put a couple things into perspective here. Now, I've already mentioned it once. If I'm calling the homeowner, I know there's a line of other people that are calling that same homeowner. So, a couple things that we need to understand is that these transactions do not happen in 5, 10, or 15 minutes. Now, I know you may have gotten a deal where you got on the phone with a homeowner and it happened really fast. That is okay. I would encourage you not to go too long doing deals where you're trying to get them to close with you over a phone in 5, 10, or 15 minutes. Here's the reason why. It takes time to buy houses. It takes time to buy houses. Meaning, just because they signed the contract does not mean that house is sold. Once you get the signature, you better believe when you hang the phone up with that homeowner, hopefully you get a ton of value from the content that I'm dropping. I am on a mission to get to 10,000 subscribers. So what I want you to do, if you get value from the stuff that I'm putting out, I want you to hit the subscribe button, share it with everybody that you know, and let's keep winning together, y'all. That homeowner, whether it's an hour from there, a day from there, or a week from there, their phone is going to ring again. And it's not going to be you. It's going to be somebody else. And if you only spent 5, 10, or 15 minutes, and in the very beginning of the conversation, on the intro, step 1, where you get them on the phone, you introduce yourself, you get who they are, you set very clear expectations on step 1, you have them write your information down, your phone number, that way they can get in contact with you whenever they want. If you have not done that, right? If you have not done step 1 right, when you hang the phone up after getting your first contract signed, what if a guy like me calls them up? They don't even know who you are. They signed a contract with you. I call them 2 days later and I say, hey, Mrs. Homeowner, this is Eric with ABC Homeowners. It looks like you're interested in possibly selling your property. She goes, I am. Well, that's the reason I'm calling you here today. And I go through an entire process. She never once mentions she signed a contract with you 2 days ago. She's like, wait a second. This guy's giving me his information. I have his phone number. Who did I actually sign that contract with? I don't even have a contact number to get in touch with the person. At least I know I'm speaking to Eric. I can get a hold of him at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He gave me an email address. He gave me a website. Jesus, I wonder if I made a mistake signing with that person 2 days ago. Now, they're not telling me all of this, but I'm letting you know I've been in their brain before. I've been doing this too long. I know what they're thinking. So what I'm trying to do for you is get your contract to the closing table. We go through a lot of no's, a lot of dials, a lot of talk time, a lot of frustration trying to get somebody to say yes. Don't rush the process. I always say, and I think the reason I have so much success in the virtual real estate wholesale space, or the 15 years that I've been doing this, I'm able to put myself in the consumer's shoes, where I can turn around and I know what they're going through because of the competition, the tsunami of amateurs that are out there. So what you want to do, understand, I get it. There's people out there on YouTube or social media where you'll see them close a deal in literally 5 minutes. That's not scalable. I promise you, with certainty, if you close a deal in 5 minutes and somebody like me gets that homeowner on the line, I will 100% snake the deal from you, not because I'm doing anything unethical. I'm going to put that homeowner through an experience you didn't put them through. They're not even going to tell me they've done business with you. So what I'm trying to do is prevent you from somebody else coming in after you've done the work, you've got a contract signed, and you lose the deal because they're willing to do what you're not willing to do. So it takes time to buy houses. Write that down above your computer, on your wall. It takes time, right? Now, your talk time, that's going to go right hand in hand with it takes time to buy houses. I don't need to beat a dead horse. It doesn't happen in 5, 10, 15 minutes. Your average close, with like no bullshit, your average close in this industry should take you a minimum of 45 minutes to an hour and a half to truly get that homeowner to like you, trust you, and want to do business with you. Now, you could give them a number that makes sense in 5, 10 minutes if you think that's the way it needs to be done. And you agree on the number. But do they like you? Do they trust you? And do they even want to do business with you? The number is one thing, but the trust, likability, and confidence that the homeowner has to have, knowing when they put their signature on that purchase agreement, 30 days from now, 45 days from now, are they going to wake up and there's going to be money either wired to their account or a check delivered to them at the titling company or closing company? The number is one thing, but do they believe you? Do they have the confidence in you that you're gonna get the job done. Okay, so the number is just a very small portion of getting a deal all the way to the closing table. All right, so we'll cross this one out. Now, don't shortcut the sales process. Y'all hear me talk about my 5-step sales process, my 13-page script, and I listen to people's recordings all the time. And if you do not have a sales process, I promise you, you got to get one. You got to buy into it. If you're going to build a team, you don't need 5 people saying 5 different things. Your results are going to be all over the place. So get a sales process, buy into it, and always go through the full sales process. I had someone yesterday, I knew about 5 or 10 minutes into the phone call, I knew they were sold. They literally even told me, they're like, Eric, I love it, let's go. But I had a process I wanted to bring him through. I wanted him to know exactly who I was. I wanted to know why he was doing this transaction. What was his why? What was his long-term goals? I wanted to know all of that. I could have, in 5-10 minutes, closed the deal down. I spent 49 minutes with him. 49 minutes. When I knew 5 minutes into it, he was closed because he told me he was closed. But what I'm willing to do that most people aren't willing to do is stay in the sale. Get that bond to where no matter what happens, when I hang the phone up with him, let somebody else reach out to him. He's like, man, I got Eric Cline. He's my guy. He's taking care of me. Don't worry about it. Click. I don't have to worry about the phone calls that come after because I put the work in. Same thing with somebody selling their house. Put the work in. Think about this. Most of your deals are going to be $15,000 to $20,000. $15,000 to $20,000. Now, I know you're thinking, I make all these phone calls. I got all this talk time. That's okay. It's the one call that matters. That one call. How much time did you actually put into that one call? Did you earn $15,000 to $20,000 on that call? Not all the other calls you made to get to the one, but when you get to the one, was it a $20,000 call? You got to be able to ask yourself that. Because 15 minutes to try to buy a house over a phone, that's not a $20,000 call. You haven't earned $20,000. Somebody will ultimately come take that from you. All right? Don't shortcut the process. Now, stay in the contract stay in contact after the contract is signed. I've touched on this here over the last whatever minutes we've been on here. When you get the contract signed, the job is not done. I highly recommend you, once it is signed, you want to call them a minimum of once a week, one time a week. Even if you don't have any updates to give them. The reason for the phone call is a friendly touch. Hey, Mrs. Homeowner, this is Eric over here at ABC Home Buyers. Just calling, 1, to see how your day's going, and then 2, letting you know everything on our end is going as exactly as we described to you. You want to stay in contact. Friendly touches, once a week. So if it takes 30 days from contract to close, you want to call them at least 4 times, minimum. If it takes 45 days, you want to contact them a minimum of 6 times. If it takes 60 days, you want to contact them a minimum of 8 times. 1 time a week, just simply letting that homeowner know, I'm still here. I'm still here to help you. If you need anything, I'm a phone call away, but you'll hear from me again this time next week. Just rest assured, we're getting this property to the closing table. Because again, no, when they sign the contract, the one thing you cannot stop is the inbound phone calls that they're going to get. And They get a lot of them. They get wholesalers calling them. They get VA companies calling them. They start thinking, damn, why are all these people still calling me? Can I get more money for my house? But when you keep touching them and touching them and touching them and building that rapport, talking about their grandkids, it's like, man, I'm already doing business with somebody. I can't go and take another offer. But if you sign a contract with them and you go 3 weeks without talking to them, you're a nothing burger to them. They get a phone call and they're like, shit, let me see what this guy can offer. I haven't heard from the guy that said he was buying my house in weeks. I don't even know if he's buying my house anymore. So make sure 1 time a week from contract to close, you are following up with that homeowner. Remember, this is a $15,000 to a $20,000 deal. You have to put in the work. And then stay top of mind. Excuse me, I crossed that out. Stay top of mind. I just explained that. You want to make sure no matter who calls, when they call, or what they're calling about, they don't ever have to question whether or not you are buying their house, because you are always top of mind. That is how you are going to get your contracts to the closing table. A lot of you on here right now, you may be watching this and you've seen stuff in the past. You've seen some of the scenarios some of these people out there are teaching. And I can assure you, the right information will set you free and it will get you paid. The wrong information will absolutely set you back and cost you a ton of money. You can compare everything I said with somebody else out there that's putting very short clips on social media. This is what I want to tell you. For the last 15 years, I have done well over $150 million in sales, all over the telephone. If there's one thing that I know for certain over my 15-year career, is rapport is king. It takes time. I am willing to do what most people are not willing to do. To be there for my clients, to get my clients or my potential prospects to know who I am, to get them to like me, trust me, want to do business with me. You know, I always say there's levels to this shit. And when you look at my resume over 15 years, I have been making, from closing deals, I have been making millions of dollars a year without question, without fail. I come into the wholesale real estate space. In 12 months, my first 12 months, $2.6 million, netting 1.5, and I didn't have a clue about real estate. But what I knew how to do is I knew how to get somebody on the phone, and I knew how to have a conversation with them that followed a sales process to where they truly knew I was separating myself from the competition. I knew coming into this industry, and something I want you to know, I knew the biggest hurdle in this competition was the sea of amateurs out there that I was competing with. It wasn't going to be could I generate leads. It was going to be when I got on the phone with a homeowner that was even remotely close interested in selling their home. I knew my job was going to be, I had to separate myself from the other 100 phone calls that they got. When I get on the phone with somebody, I knew their skepticism was at 100%. I knew it. And they had every right to be at 100%. My job was by the very end, when I'm asking somebody, do you want to do a deal for whatever, right? From intro to the close of me getting them to sign a contract, have I earned the right to make an offer and expect them to sign a contract with me? Think about that for a second. So today's segment was on getting a contract, but getting it to the closing table and how you actually get paid. Because getting the contract signed does not mean you get paid. Getting it to the closing table is where the dinero comes, y'all. Don't be silly. love the one you're with, take the time, and do what the competition is not willing to do. Hey, what's going on? I want to congratulate you for making it to the end. What does that mean? You're in the 1% club. No one else stuck around. You did. What I want you to do is subscribe. More importantly, comment below. That way I know exactly who you are and we can get to know one another. Every single week, by you turning your notifications on, you're not going to miss the sales training that's going to keep you in this 1% club. Comment below, subscribe. I'm going to see you in the next video. Let's continue to refuse to lose.